All right, guys, what's happening? I'm trying out this live streaming method through Zoom. So let's get it. Today, we're talking all about newness, novelty, okay? It's a very, very important flow state trigger that not a lot of us talk about. Let me quickly get my caffeine right here. 1 second. All right, solid. It seems to be a weird glaze on the screen. Hold on. Guess I'm gonna use something to wipe it. I'll use my hand wrap. Okay. That's a lot better. Okay, so let's start talking about this, man. So ego validation, okay? Ego preservation. You might have heard these terms, okay? Now, ego, you can also call as many other things, okay? Give it a different word, you have a different experience with it. What if your ego was a being, an entity, okay, that actually was there to help you, but was a little bit diluted, right? Is just a little bit confused, right? Ignorance and confusion, all these things that cause more suffering, right? The ego is trying to get into the driver's seat, whereas you know that you're in the driver's seat. The ego's got to sit in the passenger seat, right? But at the same time, we experience this whole thing like we got to amputate this thing, we got to cut it off immediately. It's not there to help us at all, but we need it to function in the real world. So as modern day shamans, we understand that this thing has just got to be in the background somewhere. Okay, it can't be in the foreground, because in the foreground, it'll start to crave power and crave dominion and want to, do things in its own way. And then our true self, higher self, okay, inner self, the self of the soul that comes through us when we meditate, right? The pureness and the bliss that comes through when we meditate for a very, very long time, right? And we can access these particular traits, but then the ego comes in and is like, nah, not today, buddy, right? And so we got to understand that the ego loves familiarity. It loves the comfort zone. It wants to stay in one place. It does not want to move. It creates that feeling of stuckness. So we say when we are in a flow state, right? When you hear a beautiful piece of music, or you go to the London Symphony Orchestra and you sit in the audience, or, you go for a stroll down this road that you've never gone before, you start noticing these little moments where time stops for you, okay? Where you create these little pockets or vortexes around you wherever you go, little moments of presence, little moments where, a client told me yesterday that, every time that I talk to you, it feels like time slows down for me. And that is exactly what I wish to embody. That is the quality of flow state that I wish to embody. You see what I'm saying? So to hear that back to me as an initial feedback gives me more awareness, right? And that isn't to facilitate and pump up my ego. And someone gives me a compliment like that, I see it as a confirmation, right? I see it as a confirmation of the already existing storyline or narrative that is unfolding. So the ego is definitely a very exaggerated storyteller, right? It loves to distort things and take them out of proportion and fabricate these truths, right? But at the same time, I think it deserves a lot more love. Like our mind deserves a lot more love and respect too, okay? When we refer to the mind, we always call it monkey mind. We refer to it as mind chatter. We think that mind is bad and mind is the enemy. And we keep saying this over and over again. But your mind is actually a very, very vast and amazing place. And actually, this entire existence is of the mind. All is mind. It's all in a state of mind, as our mentor AZD says, right? So it's all mind, actually. The Kybalion states all of this is mind. And from an empty mind, we can recreate because it's a blank slate, right? It's a tabula rasa, and anything can come in through that. So you can get into a blank state or a blank slate through meditation. But then from there, you keep filling it up with more garbage. Okay? Yes, the time slows down. The dorsolateral or prefrontal cortex kind of like shuts down the decision making. That inner critic shuts off so that you can get these things happening. Now, in order for you to be in the flow state, you also have to have high consequences, right? If you have zero consequences for your actions, how are you going to maintain that pocket? You're not going to feel any pressure cooker situation happening, you see? Because when flow is there, it's like it's a buildup of energy, of chi, of prana, making itself known. Okay, making itself known, making itself understand that here I am. Pay attention to me. Okay. Now we can call this ego or ahamkara or demiurge of the Gnostic tradition, whatever you want to call this thing. Okay. The demiurge is this understanding of this giant snake-like creature with a lion's head, right? That keeps moving. And imagine like a snake covered with fur. That's kind of cute to think about, right? So you think this ego is like this cute, like lion snake or whatever, right? But it's a lion snake. You get what I mean? It's a lion snake. Wow, it's going to deceive me. Okay. But what is a snake to a naga? What is a liar to an actual lion? You get what I mean? So these are taking on the forms of scary things, the ego, the snake that can go and slither and you can't capture it and it can go anywhere, right? And this lion that's like the king of the jungle, with just beasts and like a monstrosity. It just keeps eating and destroying and anything it can get its hands on, right? So those two powers together, right, it creates this ego, this manifestation of the physical world. Like we have to keep getting richer, we have to keep building this economy, we have to keep selling these products, we have to keep going. And it's like this hyper consumption culture that the spirit of the demiurge is creating, right? No, you have to keep buying it. Keep buying the Supreme t-shirts every time the new one comes out. Keep buying the newest iPhone. Okay. It's going to keep you in that loop. So you got to understand, where is my real purpose? Where is my benefit to this thing? See, you might have just have your objective scrambled. So you might have said to yourself that I'm going to do A, B, C, but then you're really doing X, Y, Z. And what that tells your mind or your subconscious mind is that I can't trust this motherfucker, right? Like he's saying one thing and then he's going around and doing something else. So why am I going to trust him with the next statement that he makes in order for him to manifest his reality? Right? It's like the boy who cried wolf. It's like, why should I trust in that? You get what I mean? So you have to get this understanding or exert your willpower to actually change situations around, right? You got to force and use your willpower to sometimes get this thing around and fight against the ego. The ego can be fought with peace or internal stillness and silence, just observing it and it'll go away. Okay. You enter that state of oneness or the absolute. You find that internal, plug and play, basically, right? That connection. And that silences it down. Or you've got to find a way to use it. By using it, it'll shut down the logical mind and actually help you to do something around it, okay? Now, one way is to facilitate it and merge it with the soul itself, okay? Now, what if you could fine-tune this thing where your soul and your ego are playing together, like best friends or two, you know what I mean, right? Like two best friends or two pets, like a dog and a cat that usually don't get along. But you've seen those pictures, right? You've seen some of those pictures where you see this like little kitten playing with a little puppy. And you get this understanding that though these two aren't meant to be getting along, there is a trust that is built within this family unit or system because they both have the same owner, man. They both give them food, different kinds of food, but still, right? I don't know what cats eat, like, I don't know, cat mix or something like that, right? And a dog like probably, eats those like little chewy little doggy bones or the pedigree stuff, right? So they both eat different, right? I don't understand that. You're owning these two pets. One is this, it's a cat with like a snake tail, the demiurge, right? And it's tapping into that reptile center of your brain too, sometimes, right? Using images and stuff like this, right? Graphics, images. And then you have this other part of you that's like, the higher self, the dog, which is God backwards, right? But it's the dog, that understanding that, hey, I am loyal to you. I've always been here. You just cannot see me that well, but I am loyal to you, right? And that dog energy too. And I'm not saying I'm not a dog or a cat person. I would probably be closer to a cat person than a dog person. But in any case, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like an animalist or an animalistic, well, I am an animalistic lover. That's a different story, right? But I would say that, I'm not like trying to discriminate between cats and dogs or whatever, but I'm trying to give you guys an analogy of this because it's very, very powerful when we get that understanding, from a different context, right? From a different metaphor, perhaps it might hit for you might quite differently, right? So let's say you're trying to, like, this has happened to me actually. So right now I'm going much more into a cutting phase. Okay. So that means I'm going to be losing weight rather than gaining weight. Okay. So in that time, I know in this time now, I'm going to get the most challenges. Okay. The most challenges to eat junk food, to eat like shit. Right. The most amount of challenges right now will come down to that. I know it. I know it because it's a big major resistance in my mind and I'm going to be tested. There's going to be this urge or this dopamine poking at me, right? In the background, like, do this, do this, do this, do this. There's no way out. There's only this way. You've always known this, right? The voice of the ego coming in, but no, bro, why don't you just wait another day? You'll never change, really. Okay? You'll never really change. You're always going to be the same. That little whispery, like annoying, like opposite of auspicious voice, right? Suspicious voice. You got to go from suspicious to auspicious, baby. Okay. Wow, what a beautiful quote, right? Said kind of like a gangster rapper. Anyway, yeah, you can't be so caught up with what this thing is telling you because to create newness, you got to create ego death, right? Ego death is transformation. Death is a transformation by itself too. So you got to understand that, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So your long lost grandfather who's not here with you, here with us today, right? Maybe you've lost your grandfather, maybe you haven't. I've lost my grandfather, both of my grandfathers. And, God rest their soul. I understand they're not here with me, but I know their presence is still here. You get what I mean? Their energetic presence, their resonance of what they've left behind is still here. You see? So that's what we really create. So we really create an imprint or a resonance of a particular type of frequency or a theme as we leave this world. And that's my own particular understanding, I think. But everyone kind of comes to this world with some things that they're immediately drawn to, right? And yes, they go through the lens of survival, obviously, survival and replication, like those are the things that we're ideally wanting to do, okay? Really, we want our genes and offspring to spread and like, we want our sensibility and our reach to, as many people as we can. So sometimes we do this through different forms of ways. I mean, I've heard people, spiritual bypassing do this. Why can't you just be okay with just the bliss and the wonder of the universe and cutting down on people's ambition? Actually, like, let's say that someone wants to actually, optimize their life, get to a higher position or a ranking or something like this, right? And then they use the spiritual bypassing of going, but you don't have to try so hard, or you don't have to, don't give it that much effort. Okay. But that's actually like it's counterproductive that like for a person in that position, they need like a stroke, like they need like what do I want to say? Like a fire in the belly, right? Is what I'd call it. They need that fire in the belly. They need that essence of like, I'm gonna get this thing. Okay. That desire that burns within me knows that there's got to be some end point for this, or some integration, some calibration, right? Some way for this desire to become a greater aspect of me or become a part of me. See, so my bioenergetics profile takes me away from survival and needs. Okay. So when I get my needs met, I feel like I can't survive. Okay. And when I'm surviving, I feel like I'm not getting my needs met. Okay. So when I'm getting along, I don't feel like I'm getting my needs met. So this pattern, I've got to merge my survival with my desire. Do I not? I've got to merge that tribal caveman part of me, the most raw, authentic part of me that I can't take away, no matter how hard I try, because I am my ancestors living through me. I am a God in training. I am a God with amnesia. I recognize this. There's this aspect of this primal caveman part of me that has been shamed, that has been suppressed, that has been locked up in a cage. And sometimes I let him out. Sometimes I notice that he's peering through the cage, right? And he's going, oh, I get it. Okay. Oh, I need your help with something. Okay, then the beast comes out. Then there's also the priest, the saintly quality within me that is my super ego that cares more so about, how I'm being perceived and things like that, and the higher cause and the higher motivation and the higher power of humanity, right? And being this protective essence almost, in a sense. So it's like a monk that owns like a giant, like mythical monster almost. Okay. Like a magi monk who owns a mythical monster, and he keeps it within himself. He can hug that mythical monster, and people are thinking that, how is this guy, right? Who looks like an ordinary human, hugging like a giant version of a chupacabra right now, or like like a UFO alien thing. But that's really that process of the beast with the priest, right? You got to understand the love and the connection, right? Where the priest comes in and goes, hey, listen, beast, you're a strong motherfucker. Remember that. You can help to protect me. You are my guardian. I know that when someone upsets you, when someone disrespects you, you're going to snap. But don't worry. We're just going to scare them. We're just going to terrify them a little bit. We don't have to attack. Violence is not the answer. But I know I will let you out if I'm in danger. Okay, so I want you really to understand this analogy, right? So the monk has this very dangerous creature that it owns, but it loves it. It doesn't see it for being ugly or how society shamed it and said, snip at it and cut and protect that ego and make it a little bit more like this. And let's sedate it like 1,700 times, right? With this particular, food preservative or something like that, right? That's what society's trying to do to us, right? Trying to suppress and edit all of our archetypes to make us just bland people, right? Like one archetype, just one, like clones, right? So when the trailblazers, the new adventurers of the cosmic come in and create a new path working, a new way, now things get a little bit more interesting. Now we can actually say that, so this is what's happening. You get it? So this is what's happening. This is the real secret of how to merge the priest with the beast, but also getting that understanding of newness and novelty. So every time you show up, you've got to be fresh. You've got to be new. You've got to understand every single millisecond is different. One moment I can speak like this. One moment my voice can raise. Okay, but all it took was a decision, an intention. And I let that ride through this mechanism of this meat suit, this, you know, a vocal cord having person that you're looking at right now. But I know my true nature is boundless. I can be infinite. I can be anywhere and nowhere at the same time. I know that I have that possibility and capability, and you do too. That's the thing, you do too. And once you recognize that I actually am not how I am in this particular time, it's like, you know, 31st March 2023, right? I'm not going to look like this for the rest of my life. You know, I'm going to merge, I'm going to be different, I might have more wrinkles, right? But you're really wrinkling out of this meat suit into your soul, right? That's what's happening. Death is a transformation, like I told you. It's nothing to be scared of. Okay, a lot of people, they move to, I believe it's what is that place called, man? Is it Kashi or Kochi? Anywhere where Bhairava, they go to pray there. I'm forgetting the state where they go. It's with a K, right? I think it's Kashi. Anyway, so the people that go there, right? All the people are just like degenerates, you know, like lousy people who just haven't done much in life, or like, you know, they want their next life to be better. See, so all these old people who felt like, oh, my life isn't good enough or whatever, they go all to that state to pray to Kalabhairava. You know, that's an energy that I understand very well, because it's associated with time, timelessness, and being deathless, right? So I understand why people go there, but the whole point when they go there is this energy, right? Before their death, they're meant to give them like all the pain and the suffering of all the lifetimes in that one specific moment, right? Imagine the excruciating pain that you must go through in order to, you know, be blissful in the next life or whatever. So all the pain, all the suffering, all the, you know, torment that you've gone through as a participant in this lifetime, right? You get right before your death in that incarnation, if you decide to go there, right? And then a lot of people choose to be buried or cremated or die there, right? So that's very interesting, man, because if we're really looking at death and understanding the symbol, like if you have your birth tarot cards, one of mine is death and the other one of mine is emperor. So what do I got to do? I got to basically kill my old identities, right, as they come up, basically destroy the ego a little bit so that I can recreate the ego a little bit as it becomes reborn through this process. So rebirth has been, or transformation, and I'm a transformation coach, has been really helpful to understand this aspect of what's really happening. It's not like we're killing you, we're just killing that part of you that does not serve you anymore. Get what I mean? We're just cutting that off in a sense. Cut it, okay. We're just basically figuring out a way that, okay, wait, this thing, this little part of you, this fragmentation, I don't see that as a part of your grand avatar, okay? The entire spectrum of your life isn't going to have that one little quality, man. It's not going to help you sustain yourself. It's going to give you a little bit of fuel at times, but it's not going to help you, you know, fly the plane in a sense. So we're looking at this thing in the long term. We're not looking for this because in the moments of the dopamine where it comes in like, hey man, you go do this, that's the time where the dojo becomes active. You get it? That's the time where the training simulation needs you to step up to your goal and mission again, right? Where you go, nope, actually I'm going to have it like this. Okay. To be assertive a little bit, to hold your ground, right? In these moments where you're trying to change a bad habit around or trying to get rid of something, you've got to remain strong and firm in your choices and decisions. And trust me, that those sacrifices that you're making of like not partying every single time, you know, every single day, you're not like doing what the rest of society is doing, but you're actually, you know, actively pursuing something that you're building. Eventually, there's going to be a time where it clicks for you. Right. And in that time also, like don't not allow yourself to have fun either, right? I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'm just gonna, lock my room and be in this dark cave and keep working through all the misery. No, you can go out, you can still have fun, you know what I mean? You can still, approach and talk to people and engage, but they've got to engage with the true you, not the social mask you, because then what are you doing? You're just feeding that ego even more, right? And you're just feeding that ego even more and more and more. Oh, whoa. Did I get another notification? It's like, I'm realizing this in some of my reels on Instagram are getting viral, right? A lot of people are liking it. So I get these notifications. And that's a beautiful check for me, right? Because I'm like, oh, I know it's going to be that post when I check my notifications, right? As well as another old post that keeps blowing up too. And it's like my mind wants to check, even though it knows that it's not that, So even some of my new posts, what people like, I have to kind of go through this barrage of the old viral posts, right? In order to click the post. So, I mean, I do sometimes turn it off, like turn off the notifications. But I notice like that is a part of my shadow work. That is a part of my dojo. The ability not to check the notifications, that I know it's coming. Okay, yeah, that's fun. Okay, but it's not really going to serve me for this equilibrium and this incredible experience called life. So thank you for watching. Have an incredible day. I hope this video helped you get a new perspective around all these ideas and topics. We're going to crush it. Absolutely going to crush it in Aligned Alien April. I can already feel it. Okay, starting with that Heyoka energy of April 1st. Here we are. We're closing it down. Okay, we're closing down this entire chapter. What a beautiful journey, huh? What a beautiful march where we've all experienced these dips, these ups and downs. It's been primarily a lot of shadow work for me, okay? And I recognize that. And all the stuff that I've been wanting to run away from, nope, cannot run away, cannot run away. It's going to come back. 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 Like the thought of my first girl that I was ever intimate with, like came back, right? The thought of like me, the first time that, I was on stage performing came back. The fears of that, right? Came back. The memories, they'll come flooding back, especially if you ask for shadow work from the deities or some of these beings, right? These entities, you tell them, you fill my subconscious with more shadow work, please, so I can get this done in this time frame. Oh man, they're not going to joke around, because you know why? Because they want you to be at your best potential. Like they know the secret codes, right, that are there, that are going to help you move you from point A to point B. And so, of course, if there's any roadblocks from point A to point B, they're going to shift those out of the way. But how are they going to shift those out of the way if your role stays the same, if you're not new? You get it? Your newness will create new pathways as you start embracing, like, you know what? I'm not really that charismatic, but today I'm going to try to amplify my charisma in some sense. I'm going to hold that image of charisma in my mind. I'm going to do little things to confirm to myself, right, that I'm doing them. So I have the confirmation journal. Okay, I'm ready to start writing on that too. It's probably, each video is probably going to be a lot of exploration through that confirmation journal, or what we're going to do is just tap into these different energies. I do want to do some character breakdowns and things like that too. We'll see how it goes. Okay, we're not going to try to, hyper engineer this thing, but having some structure is good, man. Having some structure for your own transformation, working with a coach one-on-one, showing up each week, crushing it, going past the blocks and issues, energetic shifts that happen, and then kind of just establishing it, right, to this new avatar version of you where you feel you're just embracing this newness. But guess what? Once you get into the newness, your relationships around you must change. You get it? Once you're this new character, that person who knows you for 11 years or whatever isn't going to know you as that person anymore. You get it? And so they have to shift too around you. And that's the domino effect power of you shifting, because now your entire reality is shifted. You see, people are much more open around you and so forth. So just letting you think of all of these different things, let them marinate like sauce, okay? And I hope you have an incredible day. I'll see you, some of you, at the meditation retreat. Let's get it.